Hi everyone, it's Jim McCarthy here from sticktechnique.com. I know I haven't made you guys a video for quite some time, but today I have something to show you which I'm very passionate about, and I know you'll agree once you see what it is that it's really worth your time to check it out, so make sure you do. But before I get into what it is and actually show it to you, I want to ask you guys a question. What part of your own technique was probably the hardest to learn and to really get to grips with when you first started to play? And it's probably still the weakest part of your technique and the hardest part of your technique to develop and to maintain. Well, I know for me, it's all about my fulcrum, where I hold the stick, and finger control, trying to use the fingers to move the stick around that fulcrum. And I'm not alone in this. This is most definitely the most difficult part of the technique for most drummers. Doesn't matter whether you're an absolute beginner or a professional player already, this is a really tough part of technique to really excel at. Now, I've been teaching drums for almost 30 years, and for a large part of that I've been a specialist in drumming technique. So I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that particularly beginner students, when they first start trying to learn finger control, it can sometimes take them months, and it's a really difficult thing for them to even get the concepts of finger control, let alone develop those small muscles and so forth. I've also taught a range of professional musicians, and even for those people it can be tremendously difficult to really figure out which version of finger control they want to use and to develop it properly and to really maintain it. I know for me, if I get into some time where I'm not practicing so often, it's very easy to fall into bad habits which can then become a problem and take over. So, you want to practice these things, and it's problematic. Let's have a look at why. First of all, there's a whole range of issues with finger control. Whereabouts along the stick is the best place to hold the stick? Which part of your hand should be used to grip the stick? How exactly should we mold our hand around the stick, and with what degree of tension should we hold the stick? Which orientation should we have our wrist at so that the stick moves most freely down towards the drum and rebounds? All of these things are tremendously difficult, and of course just the simple problem of the fact that we're trying to hold the stick and essentially motivate or power the stick with similar parts of the body. All of these things make it difficult. What I'm going to show you today will solve and really help a whole bunch of those problems in one fell swoop, and it's what I'm holding here, this drumstick. I know you've probably seen a whole bunch of quackery with drumsticks before and promotion, but this actually truly is a revolutionary product. And by the way, I'm not affiliated with this in any way, shape or form. I don't get anything from it if you buy them, which you should. So I'm simply showing this to you because I genuinely believe it's going to help you no matter what sort of drummer you are. So let's take a look at it. Okay, it's a normal drumstick. It's a very nicely built, made drumstick. But what you've got is a little hole in there. There's actually two little holes, and on this side, or both sides, you can see this little plastic wheel that's going through one of the holes. That goes all the way through the hole and essentially forms a pivot point. Okay, so what does this do for you? Well, first of all, it solves the problem for you of where to hold the stick, right there where that black thing is. And by the way, there's two holes just because that allows you to adjust a little bit depending on how big your hand is and so forth, personal preference, but both of those holes work very well. Yes, it is in the correct part of the stick. It's in the balance point. Let me show you. I'm just going to hold that ever so gently, as lightly as I possibly can, just between the tip of two fingers here, and drop it on this pad. And by the way, this pad isn't very bouncy. And you can see from the number of bounces and the frequency of that bounce that is definitely in the balance point of the stick. And not only that, it's a very efficient fulcrum. It's a very efficient, friction-free pivot point. So it's working probably better than it ever could if you actually to hold it between your thumb and finger, hold the stick and create friction. So it's solved where to hold the stick, and it's also solved actually just the problem of creating a good friction-free fulcrum right there in your hand. It's also solved which part of your hand to hold the stick in, how to hold it, because you really can't do it incorrectly. If I try to use the wrong finger or the wrong part of the finger, it's really not going to work so well. It sort of forces your hand, if you're putting it on those black plastic wheels, it's forcing your hand into the correct grip. Not only that, but you have to have your hand in the correct orientation as well, because if I tried to do it in the incorrect way, that pivot point is now no longer going to be lined up with the correct up and down motion that you want from the stick. So you can see I'm using some basic finger control there, not moving the hand, and it works really, really efficiently. It's a tremendous fulcrum that's friction free, and I can really focus on just my motion of the fingers. So what is this going to do for you? Well, if you're an advanced drummer already, or you're really trying to develop your finger control and fulcrum more, it's a great help. For example, there are lots of exercises in the stick technique that focus on finger control, like for example when you're trying to develop using one finger at a time, independence of the fingers. Well, this is going to make it a whole lot easier for you, because you don't have to really worry about that fulcrum shifting around as you use your fingers, because you've got it right there in the pivot point. You don't have to worry about the friction, it's gone. You don't have to worry about any of those things. All you have to worry about is the operation of those fingers that you're trying to learn and getting that development. So you can see here I am just using my index finger, or just the second finger, and swapping between them and so forth. You can see that is tremendously easy to do with this product. So if you're an advanced player, the HingeStix is going to save you a bunch of time and make your job easier to develop that finger control. What about if you're a rank beginner student, or if you're a teacher that's teaching beginner students? This is the best tool you will ever have in those situations. I've tried this with students, and I can guarantee that it will help you. All of those things that you try and teach a student, can sometimes be very frustrating. They're difficult for the student to understand. They're difficult for them to do to start with. And there's so many different aspects of it to concentrate on. They end up getting into bad habits sometimes, and it can take a long time to show them those things and to get them all correct. Rather than spending months doing all of that, simply hand the student one of these. And if you are that student, go out and buy a pair of these. Use it. It's almost impossible to get it wrong. If you hold the stick by those little black plastic wheels, your technique's almost done. It's almost created for you. Okay, you're holding it there, it's correct. All of those problems are solved. You start doing it, you get the hang of it, you understand it right away, you understand the mechanics of this stick, and after a couple of weeks you'll be playing pretty well just using the HingeStix. And the best part about it is after a couple of weeks you can come back and grip a normal drumstick, and you'll be doing it the same way. The student will be doing it the same way with a regular drumstick, out of habit now, because they suddenly have got it. And I guarantee this is the best tool for a beginner student, or a teacher of a beginner student you'll ever have. So the Vic Firth HingeStix, once again, for basic finger control, learning this difficult aspect of drumming, is the best tool I ever have, and I really can't recommend it highly enough. It only costs a little bit more than your regular drumstick. You can buy them online at Vic Firth, I believe, and pretty much any decent drum shop you should be able to go up and get one over the counter. If you can't, then tell them to order them in, because these are a fantastic tool. Can't recommend them highly enough. Once again, the Vic Firth HingeStix. You won't regret it no matter what sort of drummer you are. Go check them out right away.